Welcome to Dig It, a real estate podcast by Hubble Realty Company.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robbi Boggess, and I am a leasing consultant at one of our Indigo properties.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jazmine Young, and I am a senior leasing consultant at one of our Indigo properties.
Yes, this is our first time being a part of Dig It, and I think we're very excited to be here.
We're happy to have you here, ladies. It'll be. Thanks for saying yes. I know
this is the start to our famous road.
Yes. And I'm just happy to play a part of it.
Yes. We'll tag you along for the famous.
We got to say we have Wiley Massey back here too. She's part of Indigo's marketing team.
Yep, all things marketing specialist.
So you have two of us off camera today, but that's only because we're here for you.
Yeah, we're just the voices in the back. So
we feel it. No, we appreciate the help.
We definitely do.
All right, what are we here to talk about today? What are you guys going to cover?
Yeah, I think we're going over kind of what we feel like is really important information when prospective residents or leads, kind of what we refer to them as when they would come in, just what important questions you should ask when touring, looking for an apartment, and then even after you sign that lease, kind of what to look for, how you can help us, how we can help you, how we can kind of just create a real harmonious environment and living environment before you move in and then even after. So just really renting 101 tips for everyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think just to kind of start, we'll go in with like really important things to know for that tour. Like when you first walk in, if you're a first time renter, what kind of questions you should ask just from our point of view. And I think with us being really kind of fairly new into leasing, I think we kind of had a lot of the same questions when we first started. Like, what do we ask you? What are you looking for? What price range do we suggest or recommend? Or so it's really nice just we have that perspective of, oh, you're new, we're kind of helping each other and starting this journey together. But just a couple things to start off, like when you first show up, like to list a few things. I think a budget is really important to show up with, to have an idea of when you come in, just kind of know what you're willing to spend with rent, utilities, kind of all that stuff. And then how many people are moving in with you? Obviously, a good move-in date. Just kind of those basics, the ground rules, like what you're interested in, what you're looking for. Just to list a few.
I know that when I first started renting, I didn't ask any questions. I didn't read my lease when I signed it. Yep. I think that's pretty important to understand what you're actually signing, because with our properties, the utilities are included in the rent, and most people, when they sign their lease, they don't read that. And then when their utilities start to bill, they're confused. And so I think it's really important for you to read your lease to know that we're not hiding fees from you and that we just are making it more convenient for you to pay your bills all in one place rather than to multiple different places.
And like even when you just go in, like to have that as a question, like how are utilities billed here, or what's included with rent, what's not included with rent, and then kind of go off that. Like, did your budget include your utilities being on top of that, or do you have a little bit more wiggle room outside of that?
That's huge for anyone, but budget. Can we just expand on budget a little bit, just because of all the different factors you have to take into account there?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to make sure that when you're coming in, you include all of those costs with an apartment, because on top of the rent, you also have the water, the trash, the sewer, the electric, that a lot of people don't factor into. They're like, hey, my budget is $800. Okay, is that $800 in rent, or is that $800 for rent and utilities and everything else, costs for parking and other extra costs? I know, like with our downtown properties, most of them do charge for parking. So I think that's important, especially if you're looking to move downtown, that you ask those questions about parking, because then if you don't, I feel like it makes them feel like it's a hidden cost.
Right. Kind of surprises, yeah.
Let's not forget that we live in Iowa. And winter's a thing here. We're headed into it, which I'm just not ready to admit yet.
I know.
but that garages obviously have an even more of a cost. So,
Right.
but they are available generally speaking.
Yep.
Yeah. That's something like, especially with like marketing and stuff, we're trying to figure out like how to and get more people to kind of utilize those garages as well. But just for like extra parking. But yeah, I think that's something that I had written down too, was to ask about parking, because I did live downtown before, and you can really rack up a parking bill for sure. I'll be the one to let you know. But so that's something that when I looked for my second apartment after I had moved out, I was like, that's the top of my list. I need to 100% make sure. And you really don't, like, you're just so excited. You're so excited to get into your first home. You're like, that doesn't matter. I don't care. Nope, I can walk the 3 miles. It'll be good for me.
Yes.
And you don't really think about it in the moment, but yes, no, it is. That's a really important factor. I think kind of shifting a little bit, if you have like furry babies, if you got some furry babies with you, asking those straight up so that you're not surprised, or like you fall in love with the apartment and then they're like, oh, we have breed restrictions, or there is a $345 pet fee that you have to pay. And you're like, I did not take that into account when looking for an apartment. So really just kind of ask all those hidden questions when you're looking for an apartment. So like parking, the pets, are there any pet restrictions? What are the fees associated with that?
Because like anything, there's deposits, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
when you first move in and choose whatever your budget may be, you do have that higher cost because of deposits, whether it's for a pet, to secure the apartment. Can you guys go into that a little bit? Because I remember when we rented, I was always just like, oh, because we rented in a few different places. The deposit.
Yeah.
The deposit.
Yeah. And also with the deposit too, I was going to bring up like the amenity fees as well. So not specifically for community amenities, but I feel like a lot of people, we aren't the only property management company, but a lot of people do amenity fees based on first floor walkouts, the fourth floor, so you don't have neighbors above you. So if you guys kind of want to talk about that, they're not hefty by any means, but it is an additional cost that you have to think about going into
Tell
budget.
us more about those ladies.
Yeah. So with deposits, I know that a lot of people that apply at the property that I work at, personally, they most likely pay a double deposit because of their credit score and how that comes back. So they don't anticipate that when I tell them that our deposit starts at $375, and then they have to pay double that. And they're like, well, I wasn't expecting that cost. Can we push our move-in date back now? And I think it's just planning for those unexpected costs when it comes to applying for an apartment and getting approved. I think that it's tough to be ready for that, especially if you're transitioning from one apartment to the next. But I think it's important to start your planning early as far as financially, and making sure that you have all those things in line and plan, and ask those questions like, hey, what do you think that the average move-in cost would be, or just things like that.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off that, I know like we typically will all have like a cost sheet or something that will explain like the $375, or for us it's a $500 deposit, and then so that's pretty standard, so that's all you typically see. But I know if when you do that screening and then it does come back, if it does give any conditions, then that is more so a way for us to be like, hey, we do still want you to live here. Just given the results that we were given back, it's making us, or like it's causing us to have to put down a double deposit. And I'm just reiterating what you said, but that the screening result, goodness gracious, I'm like all flustered now. My goodness gracious.
It's all part of it, because again, every situation, every home choice, all of those things are different for everyone.
Right.
Because affordable has a different meaning to me than it does to you, than it does to Wiley.
100%.
So I think that that's something that a lot of people maybe skip over, is how much, legwork does truly go into applying, picking, putting down the deposit, being approved, and all of that. Is there anything else around the approval, though, that you guys recommend, especially for people, whether they're first times or not, that they come in prepared to ask or prepared to cover? before saying, yes, this is my house.
Yeah, I think it's important to ask those important questions, right? Like, what are your amenities? Like, if it's important for you to be around, like, the highway to get to work, I think it's important location. What's around here? What's around here to shop? What's around here to eat? And just, like, what kind of, like, especially if, like, it's the floor, like you were talking about amenity rent. The top floor of where I work, they have vaulted ceilings on the 3rd floor. So we have amenity rent for that because it feels like you have more space in the apartment. And then just like that 1st floor amenity as well, like it's easy access in and out of the apartment. So I think it's important to ask, like, what floor apartment am I going to be on? Well, how big is the apartment? Do you think I'll have room for this in the apartment? Like, especially when planning furniture, I know that I've had several move-ins where they had trouble fitting their couches in there from their last apartment.
Pivot.
I've seen that a lot.
And they had to get rid of their couch and buy a new one. And they're like, I didn't even know. Yeah. So I think it's important to make sure all your furniture fits in there for one. Yes. And then for 2, make sure that you're where you want to be. Yep. I think that's important as well. So.
Well, and I mean, I also like all the other amenities, like the fitness centers, some places have clubhouse and pools. It's just, I feel like that's even changed from an expectation standpoint too.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes, like for us, all of that is included in your rent. So that won't be any extra fee on top of that. I know some places, some properties you can reserve the clubhouse, and some of them it's a free reservation, or they have like a deposit and a rental fee that you can pay to reserve the clubhouse there. So that's kind of good to ask if you want just outside hosting space, like what to look for. But a lot of those, like your gym, if you have sauna, your pool, all of that typically now, from kind of what I've seen, at least all across Indigo, or mainly a large majority of Indigo properties, is all included. So you're not paying anything extra for everything that the property has to offer, which is really nice because you're kind of getting your bang for your buck at that point. But I know, like, kind of just going off of those like admin fees, and I know we were talking about amenity rent, and I keep losing my
You're good.
I'm going back to it because
I didn't bring it.
Wait,
do you need a sip of coffee? Because we can be unofficially sponsored by Dunkin' today.
I was going to ask because I'm there every day and they have my order ready before I order it.
I love that. They know
Robbi goes there every single day.
Every single day. Robbi, you have a problem. At least
my mom needs to be blocked from this podcast because I tell her every day I don't go anymore. So yeah, I know it's bad. It's bad.
Well, secret's safe with us until this airs.
That's right. Just want to look at my notes really quick.
You're totally fine. Yeah. It's been a while. Do you all rent currently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I don't rent anymore, but just the changes that have in improvements, I'll say it's all been, for the most part, improvements. Since I've rented has been wild to see what all of the different options people have now in location and price and style, or like floor plans and things of that nature. It's just, I kind of wish I was I do and I don't wish I was renting now, because I'm like, oh, that would have been cool to have when I was, a renter.
Yeah.
Even just like small things, like I was talking with a resident who was thinking about buying a house, and I'm like, that's great, but if something breaks, you're responsible for it. You have to fix it. Like if something goes wrong or a light's out, or like you're just, and I'm just a girl, so maybe I'm just like, work is so hard. But it's really like a blessing in disguise, kind of what apartment or townhomes, just those type of communities are able to do for you, and just the amount of stress that can take off someone. Without even realizing it.
Can we dive into maintenance? Let's do it.
Go into maybe some,
let's give those tricks or
suggestions for residents that are already moved in and maybe don't want someone coming into their space. So things they can do around the home themselves to kind of avoid those maintenance. Requests coming in.
I know, is it Trayton?
Yeah.
At the his TikTok, first of all, I have to say, he did a TikTok on flushable wipes. And it's my favorite thing. I've watched it so many times. He literally he shoots something. He goes, flushable wipes, and then throws something in the trash, and he goes, flushable wipes. It's, you have to watch it. Please go Indigo Living on TikTok.
Indigo Living on TikTok.
There.
Love that.
He's hilarious. So yes, flushable wipes, please. They're not flushable. Don't flush them. It causes so many plumbing issues. They're great. Be sanitary. Throw them in the trash though. Please, please, if you could.
I think that it's also important to clean your air filters to make sure those air conditioners are working correctly, furnace filters as well, and then just make sure that when you're putting in a maintenance request, it's easier for us if you do give us that permission to enter, but if you don't, that's fine too.
We'll just call you.
We'll just call you. I know that it's hard to give permission to enter for somebody to go into your home, but we are most responsible and we will respect your space when we go in there and make sure that we fix things up to your standard and get those things done. I think that's important. I know that
probably ask you to put the dog away.
Yes, please.
Put your dog away. Put your dog in the bathroom. If you don't have a cage, I know some people don't prefer not to put their animals in a cage. So if the work order's not in your bathroom or your bedroom, you could just put it in there. Put a note or put a note in the work order as well.
We love the puppies. It's just sometimes they're like, you're a stranger. We don't know you. Yes. So it's not us.
And like you said, we do our best to get all of the orders, taken care of in a timely manner and on the first try. But sometimes that doesn't always happen either. Right. So what other things could people be doing in their homes themselves? But what else could they be relying on our awesome maintenance teams for?
Yeah, just a couple other things I just thought of was, I know with us getting into the colder weather, I know making sure you turn your heat on. It doesn't even have to, you don't have to crank that thing all the way up to 98, but just so that those pipes and everything are getting heated to avoid anything getting frozen or burst, then that helps. And then same thing when we go into the summer or more warmer weather. I know just turning on that AC, even if you keep it at a cool 70, 75, if you're more of a warmer temperature kind of person, right. Just so that there's circulation, you don't have moisture or condensation building in apartments. Then that could help prevent a lot of issues. If it doesn't happen when you're living there, then kind of along the way down the road for future tenants or just even kind of in that in between time, really helps kind of save them a lot of heartache.
Yeah, I would want to touch on that as well. With the air conditioning in the summer, it's extremely, extremely important because it does keep that condensation away, but it also keeps bugs away. I think that's really important. Yes. To not have your apartment too terribly hot because that does attract the bugs, and then it just becomes an issue for you. And to make sure that those issues stay away, we don't want those issues. Yes. So please turn on your air conditioning and make sure your apartment is not too hot.
Yeah, I think that's a great reminder, and also a big PSA going into the winter. I mean, we've had quite a few residents that they leave for the holidays around that time, and they think saving a heat bill is very important, which we totally get. Right. But if you turn off that heat completely and your pipes end up freezing, and whether you have renter's insurance or not, it can be costly for yourself and your neighbors around you. So going into the winter months, that's a good reminder for everybody.
Just because you live in a large apartment complex that everyone else has their heat on, your heat needs to be on as well. Yes. And then we don't have to sadly give you that call when you're just attempting to have a Christmas with mom and dad.
Yes. Enjoy the holidays.
Yes. I know me and Jazz, we're pretty lucky. Both of our properties have 24/7 or emergency maintenance available. So that also kind of another question to ask when you're moving in somewhere. Is that something that's kind of a priority to you if something were to go wrong, or if you don't know how to fix something? Do you have someone that you're able to call at any time of the day or night? So that's kind of really, I think, something that's kind of passed over just a little bit. Those guys, they work very, very hard.
They do. They do. Shout out to our maintenance,
our
maintenance squad.
Heart of Indigo for sure.
Yes, they are. I know that what may not seem like an emergency may be an emergency. So I would just make that call.
Yes, make sure.
They are really good at directing residents if they call and it's not necessarily an emergency that they need to come out for, but they are still there to help. So I think it's important to just make that phone call if you do think it's an emergency.
helps.
Can we talk renter's insurance a little bit?
I was just going to.
Okay,
Yes, please.
Go, Rob.
Please get renter's insurance, please. Oh, it is so important. Even if you personally are like, I've had someone move in and they're like, nah, nothing will happen. We're safe. We're fine, which is fine and dandy. Like, that's great. But if nothing happens to your apartment, something could happen to your neighbors or your upstairs neighbor or downstairs or the building itself. Like, I mean, God forbid, but anything could really happen. And we recently just had a resident that had to have like an emergency move-in because their neighbor's house caught on fire. And then their whole apartment flooded, like with just because the sprinkler waters went off. So their entire apartment flooded, ruined equipment. They were like in secure or like tech. So I don't know. They had a ton of like computers and just really expensive equipment, and also a musician. Like, it just so much personal property was ruined, and it was at no fault of their own.
Right.
But luckily they had their renter's insurance, and kind of working through that and seeing how that kind of takes place. Like, what would have been completely out if they didn't have renter's insurance, would have just lost everything and had to completely restart.
Yeah.
So it is so important. Even if you think you're the safest person in the world, freak accidents can happen, emergencies can happen, anything can go left in a split second. And just knowing that your things are covered and protected is such a relaxing feeling.
Yeah, I think it's important, and it's such an inexpensive thing, right? It's no more than like $20 a month.
Right.
I mean, and you can pay it outright. You don't even have to pay it monthly at that point. But I think it is really important to have, especially during like those fires. I know that at the property that I work at, we did have somebody who went through a fire and had to transfer apartments and everything, and it was like a whole rehab, right? And their insurance had to cover it because they were responsible. They left a stove on. And so I think that it's really important to sorry.
No, you're good.
I think it's really important because then you don't have to foot the cost of everything. And it's just really important.
Helps everyone.
I would say everyone.
Sure. Yes, for sure. Next, I kind of want to talk about is maybe like the move out process, or specifically like getting deposits back. I feel like a lot of residents, when they move out, whether it's to a home, another apartment that's outside of one we manage, people want to know how to get that full deposit back, or what's like the normal wear and tear damages compared to like maybe more costly ones, and what they can do to kind of make sure they get that full deposit back.
Yeah, we really don't talk about like move outs too often in the beginning, and I realize that. I mean, obviously we want you to stay, we don't want you to go anywhere. So
that's always the goal.
Right. But it's a very important topic, even just going into like your lease break fee, if they have that. Like, just another good question to ask, kind of how that process looks. But I know on your lease, definitely look at your lease, at least with Indigo. We have there's a page in there that goes over kind of everything we check when we do that move out process. So from your appliances to the baseboards to the cabinets or the countertops like wiped off. So everything we check, you have full access to. So make sure that essentially how you got the apartment is how we want it back. And then that's just a good way to kind of ensure how you get that entire deposit back. So holes too, I know if you're able to fill the holes with anything that you hang, that helps, just so our maintenance team doesn't have to go in, fill that part themselves, and then that just helps, kind of saves you. And also depending on the property, so ask, because some are like, please don't fill the holes, we'll do it, it's fine, we got it. But and then some properties are like, the more you can help us, we would greatly appreciate it. So it really just depends, but the holes cleaning is a huge thing. I know obviously like some things, if like a cabinet door falls off or something, you know, like there's just some things that we can kind of look at and be like, okay, well, this wasn't their fault, or this might have been there when they first moved in. And so, I mean, there's a lot of grace in that too, but if you want kind of a good example to go off of, find that page in your lease. And just when you're going through and moving everything out and cleaning, just use that as a checklist and go off of that.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to do that moving condition form as well. just so we know like the damage that was done in the apartment when you moved in, or if it was like dirty in some places or whatever, so we know what to look for, and turning that back in, because I know a lot of people think that you don't have to turn it back in, but you do, you should. They just keep it until move out, and then we don't know if you wrote that when you were moving out or when you moved in. And I think that it's important as well to schedule that move out inspection as well with property management, and to be there and to know what we're looking for as far as like normal wear and tear versus not normal wear and tear. I think it's important to make sure that your pets don't scratch up the carpet either. We see a lot of that, and just maybe put like protective like rugs or something around the corners of like the carpet, just so your pet animals don't tear that up, as well as making sure that those holes are filled if they need to be. And if you decide to paint in your apartment, just try to paint it back maybe. I've seen
that's allowed too. I think that's something to ask as well, like if they allow that at your property.
I don't think most people would ask just because they just want to do it, and so they go ahead and do it, and then they leave it like that, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, thank you, but we're going to paint it back.
Or if you do, and then kind of to just anticipate that there will be a paint charge then that will come out of that. I think something you said was extremely important, and we don't talk about that. You actually can be there for that move out inspection. And a lot of people don't know that. They're like, okay, here are my keys. Thanks. I'll wait for my deposit. But you actually can be there when property manager, or I've done move out inspections before. So you can be there for them, and they'll go through kind of that same checklist that you have in your lease. They'll go through that entire thing, but then they can tell you, like how we would kind of gauge this, the stove needs cleaned again. And then they'd be like, okay, I'll clean it. No, get out. I'll clean it really quick. It's fine. And then saves you money again. So being a part of that, it kind of gives you a second chance to, in case you miss something with just all the hecticness of moving, you're able to go back and kind of get that money back yourself, so not have to be foot out.
I think it's important, though, that I just had a move out recently, and he lived there for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's really important that, if you live there for 10 years, you really don't have to get to, his whole apartment smelled like bleach after he left. No. And I was like, he's like, I was trying to scrub the stains out of the carpet, and I'm like, that carpet is 10 years old.
Oh my goodness,
it's really okay.
You're fine.
It's really okay.
Yes. So the grace part, that's what you're given. Obviously, I mean, we're not like in a dictatorship, and you're not, I mean, we're not like, nope, this is wrong. I have with a white glove in your apartment. So obviously grace given, but yeah, I mean, you want every single penny back that you put into it. So
absolutely,
just kind of fun, not so commonly known ways to help us give you all those funds back. So
help us, help you.
Yes, literally.
Yeah. What are some other either pet peeves, or I guess just things that you, recommend, like 2 things that you recommend people ask when touring a community? I mean, just like as we kind of wind down our time here, but I don't want to, leave any of the subjects out, but really just like, I keep seeing this again and again, and come on, like.
Yes, I think know where you're going. And one thing that I do really recommend is drive by that property at night. Just see what it looks like, because obviously you're there during the day. You know what you're getting during the day, but go by at night, see what it looks like if you were to come home from work, like what's that like, because that's something that you don't really take into consideration when looking, like, during the day it's beautiful, trees are out, bushes are bushing, it's so definitely know your property, come prepared, come with all the questions. Don't kind of back down from what's important to you.
Yeah, I think that is important, but I also think that knowing the size of apartment that you're getting, I've had instances where people apply online blindly, which if you do, like you take that virtual tour, you like it.
Post-COVID, we obviously, so many people would just rather do it virtually, or if you're relocating, that's just easier.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that it's important, because I've had an instance where somebody applied online and they applied for a 1-bedroom, didn't ask any questions, day of move in, she came in, got the keys, went to her apartment, came back, and was like, that's not what I wanted. right? So I think it's important to ask those questions when you're applying. Hey, is this a 2-bedroom? Is this a 1-bedroom? Which floor plan is this? Because I've seen this one online and I really like it. So I think it's important for them to ask those questions and make sure that they're getting the apartment that they want instead of coming into a surprise. I recently had that happen with somebody who applied online as well. Didn't ask the question on, is this first floor? Is this second floor? Is this third floor? Got a first floor apartment and they wanted a second floor. So we obviously will do our best to try to accommodate them in any way possible and get them the second floor apartment that they wanted and just transfer them and make them happy. Yes. But it's so important to ask those questions to make sure that you know what you're getting.
Yes.
Sometimes it's in your control and sometimes it's not. That second floor is all booked.
Based on availability.
No vacancy.
Yeah. Luckily, we did have a second floor.
Good.
You made their early Christmas.
Yes.
Well, what else is our time winds down? Wiley, anything from you, Robbi, anyone else? Just there's a lot to cover in choosing a place to live.
Yeah.
I know this. Me and Jazz were on FaceTime last night, and I mentioned that to her. But I was like, fair housing. When you come in, you can ask as many times as you want, what kind of people live here? What's the age demographic? We can't answer that. We can't. We just, not that we don't want to, not that we are lying to you or don't want you to know who you're living around. Just with fair housing laws, we are not able to disclose who our residents are. So anyone that applies and qualifies will typically be the answer that everyone gets. It's our kind of grow training response.
Yes.
Anyone who applies and qualifies is living here, can live here. And that's really kind of something that
you think is important.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yes, it is important.
Yeah. It's a commonly just asked question.
Yeah.
And
there are other ways that can go and look at your community.
Sure.
There's obviously Facebook, Instagram, there's Google reviews, there's things that you can see how others are sharing their experiences or how you are sharing insights into your own community. Wiley, I know you do a lot in that space. And even from a property management standpoint, you can look and see who works for Indigo Living and what, what our, top priorities are for our residents. I think it's just important to do your research too.
Yes.
Do your research.
Know where you're living for sure.
Yes. Awesome. Well, you guys, honestly, you were like, I'm not sure if we're going to fill 20 minutes. It's been 30 minutes. So I love
a lot of it is my blank stares trying to remember what I wanted to say.
No, for first time podcasting, you guys
did great.
So we are headed into the off the rails question.
Okay.
Did you forget about it?
I did.
No, I didn't. I was prepared.
Wiley's laughing, but she has to answer it too.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm ready.
So this is a weird one.
Well, okay, maybe switch it then.
No, none of that.
Wiley's like, no, thank
None
you.
of that. I say it's weird because I can't quite think of my answer. If you could change the color of one thing, what would it be and why?
In orange because it's confusing.
How? It's orange.
And why?
Because it's a fruit and a color. So,
I see.
I know that an orange is orange, but why can't it be
an orange is an orange and it's orange?
Yeah, but
Or
why
a pineapple be yellow brown,
or the color be pineapple,
or something like that, right? It could be a ball fruit or something. I don't know, but I just question it. I don't
think
know.
let's send a letter. Ball fruit actually might actually work. Oh gosh, I don't want to go next. Wiley, you go first.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm
I know.
color of
super
one
against the
thing
color of the natural color of it.
I really this isn't a good one. I'm gonna go with one that just popped in my head. I'm just grossed out by the colors that bananas change as they ripen
when they
more.
get brown.
But I also just am not a big fan of bananas.
Yeah, so that might just be
So
personal.
it's ew, it's just personal preference. But why do they have to look so brown and gross? I don't know. That's one for me.
Potassium hate group over here.
I
all
love
about the
banana
fruits.
bread. Banana bread is so
we're getting
good.
the color of
It
fruits.
is. Well, do I have to stick with the same theme?
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. Okay,
Fruits.
color. Oh no, not the theme. No, sorry, just the color of one thing.
Trying to think. Just feel like I've never even thought of
When you look at something, you're like, oh, that color.
I guess
I think I'll do another one.
I was gonna say I went to UNI and I don't look good in purple, so I was really against the school colors being purple. So
Panthers, if you could change
the Panthers, if we could change that, maybe that would be like the one thing.
Rebrand.
Growing up, going to college at the University of Northern Iowa,
goodness.
I loved it, but I did not look good in purple, so I was just finding all the gray sweatshirts, black and white, whatever I could find. So. Maybe my school colors, which is a big ask. So.
I'm sure you look great in purple.
Oh,
Yes, literally. Oh my goodness. I don't think I like honey mustard. Hang on, it's great. I was really thinking, and then I'm sitting in this chair, and I said, okay, fine, I'll just do it.
That's more mustard than honey mustard.
I think it's just the brown dots in honey mustard. Do you know what I?
Yes, we do.
Can't do it. I can't look at it when it's a good carrot dipper. I love it. Chicken
but you
tenders.
like to eat it, but you won't look at it.
Yes, yeah. Can't do
Does
the color.
it remind you of
That
like
counts.
throw up? Is that why?
You know,
Don't ruin it for all of us.
I'm sorry. I just
now
have to
I will
ask.
never eat honey
I'll never
mustard
eat it
again.
It's too good. I have to.
I don't know. Almost like I feel like I should taste a grain, like a graininess in it, and
like a texture thing.
yeah.
almost.
I don't know. I was put on the spot. It's
No,
first
that's
time I
okay.
think of.
That's
okay.
the point. That's probably the weirdest one we've had
that's
yet.
probably
And
yes.
I'm just gonna say that I used a new question generator.
I think you need to go back to the basics. Go back to the original app that you use.
Hold on. I'm gonna go to the original and just see.
Because I think the question that I told them that it would be similar to is like, what do you prefer, pizza or burgers?
Yeah,
that was
that's
the example that I gave.
That was so plain. I was expecting that.
She's misled you.
Yeah,
I
she
know,
did.
but wasn't
We
that
were like,
Rick's
pizza
question?
or
That was the
burgers.
very, very first
The very
question.
first
Yes,
question.
it was
And then
pizza or
Megan and I
burgers.
had like, what is our favorite like article of clothing that we have in our closet?
Okay, so I went back to the original generator.
Okay.
It's still a deep one.
Okay, what is it?
Oh,
Let's
two.
see.
I love it.
Who inspires you to be better?
Oh.
Ooh, my kids.
Oh, how old?
They are 8, almost 4, and just turned 1 yesterday.
Get out of
She's
here.
looking great.
I know.
Yeah, that's
Hot mom.
No, literally.
I'll say it. I'll say it.
Hey, I'm blushing over here. Stop it.
Also, Jazz's kids. No, I'm just kidding. They definitely do, though. I absolutely love them. I think, man, I really do love my mom, even though I'm lying about the Dunkin'. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Jessica.
she keeps you in check.
Yes, she does. She does. That girl is my best friend, and God, anything goes wrong, she has the answer. I could be at the doctor's office, and they're like, "You need surgery," and I'm like, "Mom, do I need surgery? Like, are you sure?" So yeah, shout out to that girl. She's amazing.
I can attest. She's a great woman.
Oh, that's sweet. I love that.
I love it.
I'm probably going to stay in that like genre as my family for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the oldest of 4 siblings. So my younger sister is 2 years younger than I have really young brothers that are 8 and 10. So just kind of being the best that I can be for them and teaching them how to be good people in this crazy, crazy world. So yeah.
Seriously.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I'm ending on that because those answers were perfect. And you guys were awesome today. So thank you so much for taking the time. I know you have a lot of residents and a lot of things going on and people to get back to. So thank you so much for being here and taking the time to educate some people on their next decision when it comes to renting. Not always an easy one, but they have people like you to help them through, right?
Well, thank you.
Yes,
If you need
thanks,
an
ladies.
apartment, call us.
Yeah, just call us. We have a lot.
Yes, we do.
All the options. All right.
Seriously.
Well, we will be back next week. If you want to see these ladies' beautiful faces and hilarious facial expressions, you can catch us at Dig It on YouTube on our playlist there, or you can catch us on anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, Google and beyond. So we will see everyone next time.
Thank you.
Perfect. Bye, everyone.
Bye.